Here. Here.
Here. I'll have the minutes. What's your name, please?
Do you have any other one?
I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I just wanted for everyone that's in the audience, we are live web streaming and it is very, very sensitive equipment. So that's all of the but we could ask you all to stay very quiet, keep the doors closed, make sure that your phones are on mute and keep your conversation to a minimum or take them outside if necessary. For each of the oversight board members, please speak into the mic. We'll take the time to pass the mics around so that we make sure that we can capture you and what you are saying. And for the speakers that are coming up, I would recommend that you lift the mic up, speak into the mic. Okay? And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing our brand new Surtax General Counsel, Mr. Nathaniel Klitzberg. And I'm going to let him introduce himself to you. And we are expecting the new assistant to the county administrator to join us as well. And when she gets here, I will introduce her to you all as well.
Thank you, Richard. Again, my name is Nathaniel Klitzberg. I've been with the Broward County Attorney's Office for the past 5 years. Prior to joining this program, I represented the Broward County Supervisor of Elections Office. So this is going to be much less stressful. I've also was the practice group leader for our general transactions group, which represents things from the Parks and Recreation Division to the Convention Visitors Bureau, Visitors of Lauderdale, and a number of other agencies. I've been practicing law for close to 24 years now, 16 years prior to joining the county attorney's office as general counsel, litigation counsel for a Fortune 500 company based out of South Florida. And I'm very happy to be here and look forward to working with all of you. And before I give the microphone back to Gretchen, I don't know how many of our board members have met the rest of the legal team who is part of this program. So I just want to introduce them relatively quickly. We have our attorney, Joe Fucciero, Gavin Reiner, Nick Burlinson, and our traffic cop, Ron Durant. Again, it's wonderful to meet you all in person, and I'm looking forward to representing you all.
Thank you. Welcome.
Actually, Laurette Jean is here, the assistant to the county administrator. She's our newest member of the county administration. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize her. She had the last name. And so she is assisting with the transportation surtax program and will be joining us for our meeting. So she's right back there. So maybe no, that's all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have 3 presentations. First one really got my attention called road stress and multimodal transportation. I had no idea what it was. After my briefing, I had a little better. Today I'll have something better. Is it Joseph Sullivan? Administrator and Christina Burton, part of engineering.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
So I'm excited to bring this project to you. As you all know, originally it was the Greenways Master Plan. So the low stress multimodal mobility network master plan update. I'm excited to bring it to you today. It used to be the Greenways Master Plan that I just mentioned, and we came to you years ago with an additional budget request. And what we did with that was we expanded the scope of the Greenways Master Plan to make it more robust in response to the comments that we've heard from the board over the years to have a bicycle, pedestrian, and emerging mobility type
plan that could accommodate all ages and all ability to get to destinations for utilitarian purposes. And one of our major destinations is transit. So I want to bring that to you before I introduce our consultant team. I am proud to present Christina Furman with Marlin Engineering.
Thank you, Joseph. All right. Thank you, Joseph, for that introduction. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. All right. So my name is Christina Furman. I'm the project manager with Marlin Engineering. I am joined by the deputy PM, Jeff Widener. And I would like to give a shout out to our team of sub-consultants, Sharon Pierce, Michael Baker, Curtis Rogers, Chico Serena, Snubs, and the Valley Group. So we began this project back in December of 2022. And the vision of this plan is to create an inclusive multimodal transportation network for all ages and abilities here in Broward County. The foundational principles are comfort, safety, convenience, and inclusiveness. And we hope to complete this task through these 7 scope task items. We've completed the existing conditions analysis. We're in the process of wrapping up and finalizing the needs assessment so that we can move into feasibility. And this is also running in parallel with the design manual that our Michael Baker team is heading right now. And we hope to finalize all of this into a final report to provide and present to the board for adoption. So the purpose and goal of this master planning effort is to enhance accessibility and mobility for people of all ages and abilities here in Broward County. The graphic that you see on the screen is your standard 1 mile block in Broward County, which is typically surrounded by main arterials with high speed, high traffic volumes. So think US 1, Sample Road, Oakland Park, State Road 7. So with the low stress network, we aim to provide on local streets, collectors, less traffic roadways. But one of the challenges our team is discussing, talking about is how to cross these main arterials and the various other barriers out there, railroads, high-speed intersections, highways, canals, etc. So I keep talking about low-stress network. What is a low-stress network? A low-stress network provides the perception and reality of safe travel through communities, destinations, and jobs. They can be used by people of all ages and abilities, so think 8 to 88. And they can be located on slow-speed streets or separated from traffic on higher traffic roadways. The idea is that the network is safe and accessible to everyone. So the graphic you see on the screen, I'm not sure if it's the right or the left, but it's an FHWA graphic. And they've done some research over the last 10 years on bicycle facilities and the folks that use them, and they came up with the design user profiles. And what they found is that the majority of people, roughly just under 60%, would like to bike, but they're concerned, right? They're concerned because a lot of the facilities that we have today, especially, are really designed for about 5% of the population, and that's your hardcore cyclists. They'll use a share, they'll use a shared lane, a shoulder, a travel lane. But the majority of people, such as myself, want a separated facility. They want a shared use path, they want a side path, they want a pathway separated from traffic. So how do we measure low stress networks? We use a methodology called level of traffic stress. And we use the methodology in the FDOT multimodal level service handbook. And there's 4 levels, LTS1 to LTS4. Now the 1 is going to be your most comfortable. It's the safest that people, children can use and people with disability. And then you've got your LTS4, which is a lot more difficult, uncomfortable to use, and it may not necessarily be accessible to children or people with disabilities. So some key findings I want to highlight that we identified during the existing conditions analysis. Today, 5% of the population travel to work by walking, biking, or transit. Almost 30% of Broward County residents are not physically active. the CDC, the HWO, they've all claimed epidemic of physical inactivity. Back in 2022, they found that today residents are cost burdened. 66% of their income is spent on housing and transportation, and I'm sure that number is higher today. We also found that the transportation network wasn't designed for people walking and biking. Rather, it was designed to accommodate vehicles moving quickly during peak hour conditions. So think of your morning commute or your evening commute. That's what the transportation system was designed for. And because of this, Broward County ranks 14th nationally as the most dangerous metropolitan area in the nation. It's one of the top 3 counties here in Florida, leading the state in serious injuries and deaths. Over 60% of bicycle and pedestrian crashes are occurring on roadways with speed limits at 40 miles an hour or higher. And we know that if you're hitting somebody at 40 to 45 miles an hour, their chance of walking away without a serious injury or death is about 10%. Versus if you're traveling at lower speeds, it increases their chance of survival. And then, of course, the Fort Lauderdale, Plantation, Hollywood, Pompano had the most injuries between the time period that we looked at, which is 2018 to 2022. And so, one thing, Dangerous by Design, which is by Smart Growth America, it's a publication that's been publishing bicycle pedestrian fatalities over the last 25 to 30 years. And their 2022 report highlighted how Native Americans and Blacks are 3 to 4 times more likely to be killed while walking. And so communities identified as disadvantaged are disproportionately affected by walking and biking crashes. And you can see on the map with the tan highlighting those disadvantaged communities in the state of taken from USDOT. And then we overlaid it with the crash data, and you can see for yourselves the map how disproportionately these disadvantaged communities are facing bicycle and pedestrian serious injuries and deaths. So we did perform a level of traffic stress analysis for Broward County. For the bicycle network, we found that most facilities fall within a 3 or a 4. Definitely some work to do there. And then our pedestrian facilities mostly came in at a 2. With that said, our plan, we aim to strive for an LTS 1 or 2 at minimum of 3. So once we performed this level of traffic stress analysis, we were able to do a destination accessibility analysis so that we can identify roadways and areas to improve key levels of traffic stress. So the map you see here is our destination accessibility analysis overlaid with the level of traffic stress analysis, and the destination accessibility analysis did prioritize accessibility to parks, schools, transit stops, jobs, and grocery stores. So with that said, you can see here on the screen, we've got areas that were identified with high accessibility or low accessibility to destinations, and then high level of traffic stress and low level of traffic stress. So areas in red have high accessibility, but also have high level of traffic stress, while areas in blue have lower accessibility and lower level of traffic stress. You can see kind of the outskirts have this blue-orange color, while the kind of the central area of the county has that green and red. So the green is low level of traffic stress and high access. The red is high level of traffic stress and high access, and then the 2 are the opposites. So that analysis led us to our gaps and opportunities. And this is a preliminary map. It isn't the final map. But this is our SPY network, right? This is the proposed base low stress network here in Broward County. The purple is existing shared use pathways and greenways. The green is fairly easy to implement. Orange is moderate to implement. Red is difficult because it's limited right of way or it's on the high injury network, and the blue are canal opportunities. Now this is still under review. Broward County is in the process of reviewing it so that we can wrap this needs assessment up and finalize our SPY network. So concurrently, we are working on a low stress design manual, And this will accompany our master plan, which will include best practices, branding, and a placemaking toolkit for municipalities. It'll also identify policies, facility types for different community contacts and multimodal level service standards. Network planning, typical sections for different types of, suburban, urban, rural. And then also junctions and looking at how to cross major, corridors, intersections, and identifying that treatment. And then finally, our placemaking toolkit, which we hope to provide to the municipalities to help us contribute to the low stress network, build into it, create a sense of place, create a more walkable, inviting community for people to walk and bike. And with that said, our next steps, we have a public meeting February 22nd, Government Center East. We hope to see you there. It is a hybrid meeting, so you can join virtually or in person. 6:30 to 8, we'll have a short presentation, and we really want to hear from the public. We do have a public survey up. It's still up. Push it out to your friends and family. Take it if you have not taken it already. We've got just under 500 responses to date. We hope to get more. At our public meeting, we'll be launching a crowdsource map so that we can hear from everybody, where they'd like to see improvements, where areas are uncomfortable, where they're not so comfortable, where they'd like to get to. And with that said, we've done already a number of board and committee meetings, public outreach, and engagement events with stakeholders, public agencies, and the community. And we hope to continue this work that we're doing so that we can create this wonderful master plan to transform our community, to make it more livable, inviting, and walkable. With that said, my name is Christina Furman. My information to contact me is on the screen, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions and comments. Thank you.
Remember to talk. Yeah, sorry.
Very hard to know. I have a general question. And it goes back to that typical map that you showed. And with the canals and the whole bit. Now that's a typical suburban block. Did you do a typical urban block, city block, which is structured a little different? And then look at the impacts in that. And number two, I know that the right of way is a restricting factor, which you may or may control. And then there's the overlay with zoning and land use and the whole bit, which complicates things because it's like little silos and you're not talking.
Right.
And you're trying to create a bike path. And based on your conversation, people tend to want a dedicated bike path because they're afraid they're going to get hit by cars. Although the experienced bikers are able to maneuver back and forth in that. So what I know this is a roundabout question, so I'm trying to get a feel of how you have addressed that in the city situation, which is a lot more complicated than that suburban one that you're showing.
Yeah, so our design manual will be, they'll be addressing the different contexts, right? You've got the urban setting, you've got the suburban setting, in some cases, but more of a rural setting. And, with the design manual, we aim to provide different treatments, different opportunities, different policies and strategies to be able to achieve the low stress network. So we'll have examples, design interventions, recommendations, short, mid, and long-term type of treatments that we use for the different, community types.
In addition, we'll be planning on doing a rotating open house with all the municipalities to get their feedback. So if there are additional comments that they have that we can incorporate into our prioritized list of projects, then we'll certainly do that.
No, it's all good.
Okay, so,
Well, thank you very much for this work, first off. I'm sure people kind of realize this, but it's really hard work that you're doing because in South Florida, we're reverse engineering something that just wasn't thought out from the get-go. My theory on this is people are not gonna know they want it until they see it working a little bit, which is really a tough thing to show people. And it's really about trying to combine and connect these communities. So one thing I would suggest is, take Fort Lauderdale as an example, have a lot more people walking now because they have to. It's so congested there. Hopefully, we can get some buy-in from the younger people there, and we can figure out how to connect some of the, as Ron was mentioning, some of the neighboring kind of urban areas and get those more interconnected. Because I can tell you, when I was doing more of the advocacy type of work, it really is disproportionate, the people that are impacted that have no choice but to use biking and walking. But I do think it's a strong connection point for South Florida, and it's something that it's so necessary. So as this group can help support what you guys are doing, certainly I'm trying to do that. Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think this is something that the county really needs. And I'm sure it's a lot of work to try to make a network, especially in the more suburban areas. Just because I know that a lot of times it's hard to kind of snake through those blocks. But I'm wondering, I have a question. So I'm wondering what a path might look like. Would it be like a shared use path, or more like a protected lane like you see in other cities where you've got like dividers or something like that?
So, I mean, we're still under kind of hashing that out, right? Our Michael Baker team is working, but there are options, right? Shared use pathways, side paths, separated bike lanes. So we're looking at those different options and where it may be appropriate to put one facility type over the other. So that's still kind of being hashed out, but, the design manual will provide kind of guidance to the county as well as cities on, which facility types to choose and depending on the context, right? The vehicle traffic, the volumes, the right of way. So there's a number of factors there.
Thank you.
Maybe I can just add to that, we have a diverse community in the county, from sawgrass to seagrass. We have a nice urban network on the east side, and then we move into the suburban networks and connecting those facilities. It's something that's going to be difficult, but we need to make it visible. And we need to identify the opportunities. Right of way is a huge factor. And again, going back to that template that is on your screen now, I believe. But, our neighborhoods are divided by 6-lane arterials, and we have these islands that are disconnected around the community. The real difficulty is going to be getting across those physical barriers caused by railroad tracks, canals, and 6-lane arterial roadways. And we're looking to develop some low-hanging fruit. The project will identify 10 feasibility locations, and then we're going to drill down and do conceptual design and come up with 5 concepts for the 2 million year seed and quick build type situations or short builds.
Good morning, and thank you for your presentation. We're looking at the key findings for Broward County, because I couldn't have to think. I wonder where Miami ranked with 14, but in terms of number of accidents, I was curious about that. But I'll do it. But I'm really wondering, how do you plan on measuring success? Once we started to make investments in these changes, how do you plan on measuring that you achieve? I'm particularly concerned about some of the urban areas where the death rate is significantly high, and that seemed like a matter of urgency to me, like, let's fix that first, right? So that's really my interest. How do we measure success? A year, 2 years, once it gets?
So I want to make mention that this project is serving as a match to the joint MPO Broward County Safe Streets and Roads for All Safety Action Plan grant that we received. We received $5 million, and the county's going to provide a $1.25 million match in-kind projects. So this is one of those projects. As part of that project, there will be performance measures that are developed. And then as part of our recommendations, we'll also have some performance measures that will be developed as an outcome of this.
I also want to mention, on the non-motorized side, bicycles and pedestrian use, we don't have the data. The DOT, the counties, they count hundreds of roadway locations every single year. When we have decades of multiple points, if traffic is going up, the impact of crashes. I think we have 3 locations in Broward County. Marlin Engineering is implementing the DOT's first ever non-motorized data collection network. As part of this effort, we're going to identify 25 locations in Broward County for permanent count locations. And it's important because when you're looking at rates, you need to understand the utilization. And living in downtown Fort Lauderdale, I know just from my own visibility, the urban design and the mixed-use communities, I see a lot of people biking and riding compared to when I was living there 15, 20 years ago. And we want to see higher utilization when we read the data.
And to answer your question about Miami, Broward, Palm Beach, Miami are put together as the Miami Metropolitan Statistical Area for the dangerous by design data.
That's fine.
Christine, I don't know what you had for breakfast today, but I'd like some of it. It's absolutely refreshing. And Sean said, this has been a long time. The bunch of the city is actually here, especially Fort Lauderdale. They are redoing. I don't know if you're talking. My understanding is they have 3 solutions. The cheapest one is probably the best. And it's just, you have a bridge for people. However, first one, the cheapest, is the only one that addresses pedestrian safety on the sidewalk. We need to get a meeting with the FDOT regarding. See, I don't know which one we're going to approve, but if they don't approve the one at grade, we are doing nothing. Pedestrian safety measures. It's just amazing when you see the 3. So I hope you go and meet with them. The other group I'd like you to do is Otter Trail is building a trail system, 42 miles. Everything that you're doing here has a chance to be retrofitted into that. Very beginning. So I hope you're meeting those people. You need a contact. Let me hear. So with that said, we speak about this meeting.
Yes. I have another question, really 2 comments. I'm curious to know, as you're having the conversations with the various municipalities, how are you engaging them to make sure they also have skin in the game in terms of, just ensuring that they're incorporating the right safety measures into their cities, especially in the ones where you have higher death rate because of this? Because I think, as you're still doing some of your work, I would hope that that would be part of your advocacy. And then, do you have a budget in place for the data collection to, when we're trying to track performance measures? Is that part of what county is supporting? Or the pay tax?
Okay, Mr. Chair, to answer your question, we have been engaged with the water trail folks to a degree. We have the plans, so they're building like 4 segments or something like that. So we've been in, contact with them and, some of the other planning projects as well. We have, the information that to be able to incorporate into our plan. And then I've heard about the Sunrise, intersection redesign. Next time, we're actually having a steering committee next week, which DOT participates in, and I'll be sure to ask more questions regarding that project. Vice Chair. So for our data collection, we have done 5 locations, as part of this process. They were short-term counts, so, what was it, a couple of, we measured weekday and weekend counts. So some areas, they came in really high, like the ones in downtown Fort Lauderdale, we did a location there. We did a few, Cypress Creek Greenway, the Middle River Trail, the trail down in Orange Trail, I think it's called, or Linear Park Trail in Davie. And then I can't recall the last one, but, some of them were really high, especially the ones in Fort Lauderdale. And then some of them were a lot lower, just in the context of the one in Davie, for instance, came in pretty low. But we are recommending 25 locations, as Jeff said, for permanent count. And then,
Yeah, and additionally, with your support, we would like to go ahead and later propose a budget for doing more data analytics for exactly that type of thing. So that's going to be in works soon.
And as Steve said, we did a temporary short-term count. The important thing is the installation of permanent counters. 1 or 2 data points don't create a data set. We need to be counting every year, the same place, 100 or so locations all around the state. So we know the pulse speed of activity for both pedestrians and bicycles, and we have the budget to install 20. We'll recommend 25 locations.
Good morning. As I shared, perhaps I can add a little bit of additional information to the discussion. I'm involved with the county, or with the project, the NPO Safety for All project, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. And what we're doing with that project is we got a $5 million grant to develop a safety plan for the entire county. And what the safety plan is going to include is multi-components to it. It'll be evaluating all of the crashes throughout the county, including bicycle crashes as one component of it. That's why this project is it's a match to the overall project. So what we're going to be doing in the project, with this project over the next year and a half, is that we're going to be identifying all of the areas throughout the county in that where high injuries have occurred, whether crashes of their cars, pedestrians, bicycles, we're going to take a look at all of it. And then what we're also going to do in addition to that, we're going to develop strategies for it. What we're also planning on doing is that we're going to identify components of roadway that physically have the potential to cause crashes, even though that they may not have actually resulted in crashes at this point. We kind of want to be proactive about the whole thing rather than waiting for an accident to happen. So, so we're going to take a look at that. And then this is a long lead up to the answer to your question, which is that this document is intended to be a living document. We are going to be develop a safety plan throughout the county, including bicycles as a component. We're going to be trying to obtain additional plans to implement it. But furthermore, and most important is that we're planning on continuing to monitor the data, not just at the end of the project, but we're planning to continue to monitor data as we go forward, and then hopefully use those results to further refine our improvements going forward in the future.
Perfect.
Chairman, one last question. I noticed that the last slide, you didn't put up that was in the book, which is very important, the placemaking toolkit. Could you go over that slide? Because it appears to me that you're thinking about connecting destinations and activity areas that may exist or may not exist, and you're kind of creating a whole bit.
Yes.
It's a very interesting slide, so I'd like to hear your presentation.
yeah, I kind of breeze through this. So, the intent of this is to provide strategies, right, for the cities and the county, but most of the cities, to help kind of identify their character, their sense of place, their identity. But it's also aimed at helping the cities kind of tie into this network and finding areas where there may be a place of respite, right? So that they can have shade or a tree or seating, or even, public art. And also areas where, kind of dumpsters come together, where people can gather. The intent of it really is to help cities redefine themselves and create this walkable, people-oriented communities and spaces. I think here in Broward County desperately need that. We have the beach, which you see every weekend, it's packed with people. And then you see other places like Sawgrass Mall, but that's a different kind of people, right? Those aren't natives necessarily. But, myself and my friends, we're always looking for places to hang out and get together. And we'll go to places like downtown Fort Lauderdale or Wilton Manors or, the Coconut Creek Promenade. But it's like, we want more of these places. We want to gather, we want to have fun, we want to engage with one another, we want to socialize. There's an epidemic of loneliness. This is how we can go and help create and solve that issue, right? By creating places that are inviting, that people may just walk around or sit under a tree and feel safe and feel comfortable and be able to walk to.
Just gonna quickly say, sometimes it's just as simple as putting a bench and a sidewalk under a beautiful tree. This approach will get people to want to get out of the house and want to walk. We have an awesome sub-consultant that are very inspiring. They're national and global experts, and we're going to help identify communities all the way from major destinations like downtown, but just to make sure trails have a convenient place to sit where it's cool and comfortable and convenient.
Greg, can I have one last question, maybe? How is this being funded in the Surtax in part of it?
So I want to make just a little bit of an extra note about the placemaking toolkit. The reason why that really made an appearance in this is that we wanted to make sure that we were activating these facilities, so it was a place where there'd be enough engagement that people always felt safe, no matter what time of day it was. But the other thing that we wanted to do, we're making these routes to be great routes to get to transit so that we can really move people across the county. We know that on average, somebody will ride their bike, say 3 miles. We want to make sure that those 3 miles are great first mile, last mile connectors to transit, to and from transit. And the placemaking toolkit makes this round into making it more enjoyable, comfortable, and safe ride for folks. And it's an optional element that municipalities can embrace, make their own, and promote culture within our community.
It is the stress.
Mr. Chair, the question is related to the funding source. As we've discussed previously, this current iteration of the plan is funded by the constitutional gas tax. We'd like to expand the scope of work and the timelines to do additional outreach. It's something that Marlon and Josette have expressed a need for, and there was a budget, there was Surtax funding associated with this project that is available. And so we are currently in communication, negotiation about exactly what the length of time extension will be, what the additional scope of work will look like, so that the Surtax can leverage that constitutional gas tax. One of the biggest pieces of this that I just want you all to leave with is that the leverage goal on this program of $2.5 billion over 30 years is incredibly connected to these types of projects, like the Safe Streets and Roads for All. Once that action plan is complete and we are eligible to apply for implementation grants along with all of our city partners, the Surtax acts as that local match to allow us to be able to draw down these federal implementation dollars and hopefully some state dollars as well. So the Surtax is going to be very actively involved in the next steps of these types of projects over time.
Well, it definitely needs to be, this is extremely worthwhile for. And you agree with that?
You asked me policy questions. There. So,
Just
on my
want to-
personal gain, I don't know if it's relevant.
Thank you very much. Did anybody want to say anything else?
More.
Go ahead.
Thing. One thing.
Well, you have to push it to the phone and give it a second.
One thing that just to keep everybody's focus is we have to think about who will actually advocate for these things and push the sentiment in the community. And that's, once again, a huge challenge because a lot of people, they haven't seen it, so they don't know what they really want. One just small example that I've noticed recently, it's anecdotal, but it's definitely there, is older residents on electric bikes. I mean, literally 5 years ago, you didn't see it, and these are people that they're deciding to go out and explore because they can't ride as far, so they weren't going all over town. And man, I see some of them sometimes, and I want to just kind of pull them over and say, look, maybe you can try a back road, like some of them will be out on like US 1 in Lauderdale. But the point is, they're clearly out there enjoying and exploring that way, which I've always been passionate about. You just have to be careful, right? So I think people that are retired or semi-retired and are excited about this can be really strong advocates. So maybe we have a way to get those people kind of into a group. And this is like a changing thing because of technology, right? Because this just didn't exist. Like even the battery life on these things now is totally different than what they were just a few years ago. I mean, you can charge these things up and go around all day now. So it opens up a lot of options. And I think people, they don't really necessarily realize that this infrastructure that we build, when we say multimodal, people just think of road bikers, right? Or maybe the picture of the family that was up there with like a little kid on a bike, but it's more than that already. And you're gonna see a lot more of that. I mean, you know, golf carts can go on the road technically, right? But people love those because you can kind of stash them other places. But in between a golf cart and a bicycle, there's a lot of other stuff, the smaller forms of transportation that are gonna come along over the years too. So it's just important to think about this stuff on a bigger kind of scale of where it can go. We're building something for the future here.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, Shay, because yes, you're right, and so that's something I forgot to mention, is that we are looking at personal conveyance devices, e-bikes, e-scooters, wheelchairs, walkers, hoverboards, skateboards, rollerblades, all that. So, you know, that is something that will be incorporated into our plan, but we're also looking at the future and emerging trends as well. And you know, there's this whole thing with the delivery bots, you know, we're keeping an eye on that and you know, we're hoping to provide some type of recommendations to be able to keep the eye forward. And also, you know, thinking about these upcoming and new, and I'm sure there's gonna be something else that comes out in a couple of years. So, you know, looking at an eye to the future and ensuring that we're providing space for all types of users, right? Whether it be the vehicle or the person walking and then everything else that falls in between.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that our design manual is gonna look at, you know, how to be flexible and also how to think about what the needs are for those little devices that people have too. So it's hopefully gonna be highly adaptable and flexible. And we have been surveying people on our questionnaire about what type of devices they have currently. So we'll be able to get a good handle on ownership.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
I want to talk about, we had a program on this earlier. Okay. Anyway, welcome. Oh, and this will have to, let's just leave it on, don't push it on or off. Leave it out,
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the board. Me from the Traffic Engineering Division, and I'm the project managers of the near miss title study. And I'm here to give you a quick introduction of today's presentation. What's near miss? Near miss risky traffic event without collision. Now echo Tony Huey just spoke to you, focusing on addressing near miss, where transitions reactive into proactive parallel, and respective solution shift for preemptive measures. And on June 27, 2019, Dr. Sanjay Rankar and Mr. Lenny Bayapondo jointly presented to the Oversight Board of UF, University of Florida, their ability to convert video feeds obtained from the city of Gainesville into trajectories for near-miss traffic incident identification. After the presentation to the Oversight Board, staff from Matt Mammick and Hollywood's Traffic Engineering Division worked out a proposal and acquired UF in February 2023 to evaluate their near-miss identification process under the county's unique conditions, such as larger intersection geometry and different mix of legal types in traffic flow. In the past 11 months, the UF has performed all the tests specified in phase 1 of the pilot study, and Dr. Rankar is here to provide a summary of the process and findings obtained at the completion of the phase 1 effort. He is also going to touch on the tests that will be carried out in phase 2 in 2024. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I now turn the floor over to Dr. Rankar. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
When is this mic? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and the board. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning. You already heard a lot about safety issues with pedestrians and bicyclists in the earlier discussion. So it's a good backdrop for me. What we've been trying to do is to be able to look at we've been looking at how do you take the infrastructure that is already present in Broward County and leverage that to understand what's happening at traffic intersections, to understand how bicyclists, how pedestrians, and how cars interact with each other. There's a lot of studies that do dash analysis over the last 5 years. The challenge with them is things change over time. We change the design, we change the signal timing. What our technology allows you to do is observe what's going on right now, and then potentially then make changes based on that to be able to improve safety right away. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how this actually works. So this is the intersection from Sterling Road and SR7. You see there are two video cameras there. These are called fisheye cameras because they are spherical in nature. So they capture a large part of the intersection. Since this intersection is really large, we actually have two cameras, one which covers this side and another one which covers the other side. And what our technology at a very high level does is looks at all of this information, combines it together. You also can at some time to look at signal timing information about when changes are happening, when lights are moving from east west to north south, for example. Take that into account and be able to understand how pedestrians and bicyclists are interacting with vehicles and how vehicles are interacting with vehicles themselves to see whether there are any safety issues either in the design or the signal timing, and then at some juncture be able to then proactively make changes changes into the future. So how does the system work? What we do is we look at both the videos which are coming in. We process the videos using the latest AI technology along with NVIDIA GPUs together, and then be able to convert two, three things. We first detect what kind of object it is. Is it a pedestrian? Is it a bicyclist? Is it a car? Is it a truck, for example? And then we can track that. Obviously, our goal is to not worry about privacy issues, so we anonymize all that information. We only keep trajectories as well. So that way, only trajectories are used for understanding the rest of what's going on at the intersection. And so you can see right here that we are tracking both the cameras, we merge them together. There are 8 signal phases typically, so we divide the data into 8 signal phases. After that, we can do all kinds of analysis, how fast the cars are going, what the gap between the cars are. But most important for us is if a car comes very close to a pedestrian or a car comes very close to a car, we want to be able to look at that because that's kind of giving us, without actually having an accident, a very good proxy for how safe the intersection is based on current design and based on current signal time. So we have the opportunity to change both of them. Obviously, doing the design changes are more long term, while doing the signal timing changes are in some sense easier to do. So with that, what we do then is we have developed this analytic system. This was developed around 4 or 5 years ago, and that's based on that, we had given a presentation to this board. And the general idea there is that we take the data, analyze it in real time, and the latency of the system is very, very small, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the general idea is that you convert them into trajectories and then you analyze interactions between different objects. But also, just beyond interaction, you can actually count, right? If you know how many pedestrians roughly cross between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. during lunch hour, you can count how many bicyclists actually crossed, right? How many vehicles came. So you have all that other data which comes along with the analysis that we are trying to provide as part of the system. Any questions before I
He asked if there were questions.
I kind of do. So I'm just thinking that, you are tracking data in real time. It is.
Solid green, has to be solid. No, it's one thing.
It's still blinking.
It might be running out of bounds.
All right.
She's coming, she's coming, she's coming.
I have a big voice. Does that help?
The problem is the live stream. It's fine, go ahead. I mean, we can only do what we can do. We tried to get more live, we were told we could only have 2, so that's the problem when we're.
So no, I mean, I can say So you talk about measuring data in real time right now, essentially, and I was kind of thinking about some predictive analytics. So we're kind of looking at, because things are changing all the time, so we may fix the problem today, but 5 years from now, whatever, how do you factor for the future, essentially?
I think that's a great question, right? So we can measure for a week, make changes, and we can observe later what's gonna happen the next week and see the before and after. And you can keep doing this all the time as many times as you want. So that's the advantage of having a technology like this, that you're observing what's happening at the intersection. Then you have the cameras, and the camera streams are going through a location that's gonna.
Well, I'm just thinking longer term.
So
And
what-
once we see technology moving at warp speed and, you know, I'm just wondering, how do you plan for that?
Yeah, again, I echo Dr. Wonka's perspective, good question, and that's the reason why I figure out it's time. We assess how we can do now, and we are going to identify the needs, the costs associated with what we can invest, and then set up some sort of game plan for future. And we need to assess what we can achieve at the end, and then continue assessing. This is an ongoing effort. It's not going to just end today. And there will be continuing or follow up study and investment into these areas. Something we Dr. Wonka is going to touch on later on about phase 2 is to see what kind of solution we can implement nowadays. And we assess the effectiveness of each solution. And we pick out those that we can adopt and achieve the best. Right? And that effort will be continuing throughout so many years in the future. And then we will continue this endeavor.
So that's why we have asking the question, where are we in the process now? Reflecting that up to 5 years. Oh, 9 years. When we have the data and we have the areas that are near miss, you'll be able to start implementing corrections, whether it's signal timing, whatever it is. When do you anticipate that this program, the information you're gathering, will be put into place? Is that going to be another 9 years? I mean, just a rough idea. What year?
Mr. Chair, I think it depends on the traffic engineering division and the public works department making so they're going to make recommendations. They're going to have findings, they're going to have recommendations, and then it's up to their department to determine what solutions they want to implement and in what timeframes. And there's going to be budget considerations to that, obviously. So I'm going to hand it to Tony that I see.
Yeah, sorry to jump in again. Just to add a little bit more to what Gretchen is saying, I think this is another one of the projects that's going to be tied into the Safe Street for All project. And what this is really going to do is that the beauty of this is that when we find issues with intersections at this intersection, there are characteristics that probably occurs at other intersections. So what we have the ability to do with this information is to say, if this happens here, it could cause a dangerous situation, let's apply it to multiple intersections going forth in the future. And so that we prevent anything from occurring before it happens. So with that information, there's two things that we can do about it. One is that if this is something that's immediate, that's something that's very, very easy to do, our traffic engineering division is going to make that adjustment immediately as soon as possible. What happens is that if this leads to more structural modifications that are required, what we can, what we're going to do is that we're going to use this plan as a vehicle to identify additional grant opportunities to implement them as they come up. We're going to be using Surtax as potentially a component to, to trigger more funding. So to answer your question about the timing, just like Gretchen said, it depends on what they are. But the long term, we definitely want to implement it across multiple places in the county, not just at the intersections that they're looking for, but prevent them from happening, and it may be a more of a long-term solution.
Yeah, the good part about technology is that it can solve problems in near term, but also provide you long-term recommendations together and discuss what can be implemented. So what it does at a very high level is it using AI, it tracks all the objects on the intersection, and then those trajectories are important to us because they tell us what's going on. So one person is going like this, another one is coming like this. The chances of them hitting each other are very high. Obviously, the good part about the technology is in real time, longer term again, as connected vehicles become more prevalent, if we can recognize that this vehicle is going to hit a pedestrian, we can inform that vehicle that, look, you're not seeing this particular pedestrian right now, because it may be blindsided, and the intersection has a good view of what's going on. If this information can be sent to the vehicle, and the vehicle can brake because it doesn't see the pedestrian. So the what I'm going to present today is the offline processing of it, but clearly there's real-time benefits where if you're seeing a pedestrian J crossing and you know that the light is just turned from green to red, you can be able to change it the light to say, hey, let me extend the green a little bit more because I want to make sure this person walks through and doesn't get hit by another vehicle. That's not something which you're doing right now, we're just doing the offline part. So what it does is it looks at the trajectories and sees are they conflicting with each other or not. You can have two cars, one car going like this, another car coming in the opposite direction at a 25 mile an hour. This become very close to each other, but that's not going to cause a conflict. It happens all the time. And that's the challenge with the old definition of near miss, which we changed to what we call severe events. If the two trajectories are crossing with each other and they're going to come close to each other, then we want to be able to know that. What we can do then is we can count those severe events throughout the entire day for multiple days in a week and understand where the conflicts are happening more. Are they happening throughout the day? Are they happening in the morning, evening? And that leads to a lot of interventions where you can say, look, during the lunch hour, there are a lot more people crossing. I want to be able to give more time to pedestrians during that time without impacting traffic too much. So those are the things which we can provide to the traffic engineers which they can use to improve. And then again, next week study and see whether this impact was positive or negative. And that's the beauty of the technology itself. So what we did was, as part of the pilot, we took 6 intersections. These are the intersections on Sterling Road. These are the intersections they already had the video cameras in there. We were able to take those feeds and be able to process them. So this project has 3 phases. The first phase of the project, each of them roughly around 3 to 4 months long. In the first phase of the project, we just got all the information about the video cameras, the video feeds, what the geometry of the intersection, because the technology needs to know how the intersection is designed. You can be able to look at Google Maps and be able to then from there derive the structure of the intersection itself. We also get information about signal phasing. We combine all of this together. And using that, in the second phase, then we perform the offline video analytics. So we collected data for each intersection for at least 12 hours from each of the 6 intersections. And then we send this to the pipeline which we have for processing the videos. Again, the pipeline is really fast. So in the long term, we can make it real time. Using that, then we actually also looked at the analysis which I'm going to present to you. But the third phase of that was how fast is it? So what happened right now, because of a variety of issues, the video went from Broward County to the US machines. and reviewer machine process it and send it back to Broward County. So we wanted to also measure the latency of that entire process and make sure that latency is small. And we found that it was actually quite small, but long term, when we put it as part of phase 2, what we're going to propose is that the servers are sitting in Broward County itself. That way, the data directly goes from the video cameras to Broward County, gets processed right there, and then decisions are made based on that. So that's something which we are going to propose as part of phase 2. Just to give you some interesting things, remember this is very small amount of data in some sense because we only collected around 12 hours from each of the 6 intersections. So I'm going to show you some near misses or severe events which we found. Clearly, as the system becomes more operational, longer term, then we will have data continuously coming to answer the question earlier that which we can make changes to if you're finding severe events happening at particular times of day or particular seasonal periods. So this is an example of that. Let me see if I can play the video ahead. Yeah, I so you can see right here in this particular video, this particular pedestrian is going to cross from the other side. You can see that the pedestrian is crossing from the top side, and this stands waiting for the cars to go through. So, and these are the kind of things which lead to issues later where if this pedestrian decided to go a little forward, probably the car would have hit the pedestrian. So that's why these are good proxies for actual accidents. Obviously, they're not always going to happen, and we don't want them to happen. So our goal in the long term would be to say, hey, we are identifying this pedestrian, let's inform all the cars that are coming in on that particular lane, saying that, look, you're not seeing this particular person because the car is walking in, so you better watch out for that. But for now, what we can do potentially is say, hey, there are a lot more pedestrians passing at a particular time of the day. We should probably increase the time for pedestrians to cross over and allow them to be safe. So those are the kind of interventions which can take place. Another example here, let's see if I can. Right. We jumping here. So this is another example of the same thing. I'm going to skip to this one. For some reason, the other slides have gone up, but we have several such. Okay. No, that's not. But there was 3 of such videos. Some is only one of them is showing up. No, in that particular, there are actually 3 slides with 3 examples. So that's all very well. But we have collected several such examples where we saw either a bike crossing over or a pedestrian crossing over, and obviously these were not accidents themselves, but they were preventable issues by either changing signal timing or informing the cars in the long term. It won't happen today because the technology doesn't exist for us to communicate directly with the cars, but we expect that in the next 2 to 5 years, as the cars become more and more connected, then we can actually send this information out. And also, there are pedestrian apps where if you're a pedestrian on a mobile phone, if you download the app will inform you that you have probably hit by a car, so better watch out. So those are the technologies which are in the forefront as you're looking at things today. So a couple of challenges which we had to overcome. We were using existing cameras. Their calibration was a little off. So we collected the data and we found out that the calibration was a little off. So we reset the calibration a little bit, and some of the communication issues were resolved in the process, but it was not anything major for us to be able to handle. And at the level, what we've been able to show is that we were able to detect all the smoke, or I would say 95% of the pedestrians and vehicles which were crossing at the intersection during the time if you were recording it. We actually can see that there are changes one can make in terms of signal timing to be able to address some of the conflicts which we found. do realize that we have only data for 12 hours, which we have processed as part of the first phase. So we are limited in terms of our findings right now, but they show that our technology is able to capture the interaction between the pedestrians and the vehicles. The severe events which we detected, most of these events are pedestrian to vehicle events. So whatever we found was that the vehicles actually are behaving well in those intersections, is the pedestrians which are sometimes not behaving as well. Again, limited data, so we can't really project too much from that. But clearly we know that there are interventions which we can do, and that's something which we're going to study as part of the phase 2. The other part which I showed you the fact that the data was coming from the intersection, going to Broward County and going to the US system. The whole latency was less than a second or something of that nature. We can reduce it to even lower latencies than that. That allows in the long term for the system to be implemented in real time. As I mentioned, that there are some benefits to real time. You can make this timing change right there or inform pedestrians and vehicles in the long run. Also the fact that we're able to process using a single GPU, multiple cameras coming to the same intersection shows that this technology is highly implementable in the real world. Part of what we want to be able to do is in phase 2, we are able to develop a system which can process the videos coming from all the intersections together and be able to demonstrate what the cost benefit of doing that kind of system is. So as part of the second phase, since we've already done the pilot here, we'll understand what the requirements are from a hardware, software point of view. Again, to answer your question about what happened 5 years, our goal is next 10 years. I think the goal is to be able to continuously collect the data, new modalities that will come in the market. Today's cameras, tomorrow there'll be LiDARs. 5 years down the road, there'll be some other technologies will be even better. So the idea would be that you should be able to take multiple modalities together, be able to combine all this information to make intersections safer. So our plan would be to right now only focus on video cameras and what it takes for us to process them, what kind of system to develop. And then using that system, we want to be able to now collect data for at least a week on each of the intersections, look at where the challenges are, and then be able to do interventions, which are able to be done with timing changes for now. But to answer the other set of questions where if we find a structural issue which we can leverage from one intersection and take it to the other intersections, then we want to be able to do that also.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not going to necessarily agree about the DP hearing. I forgot how many intersections, we have in Broward County. I think it's probably thousands there. Obviously, you have to start, somewhere. Like you picked Sterling Road, major intersections there. And I imagine we have prototype intersections to work on, one intersection that use that, data and improvements, elsewhere. I guess the question is, we're looking at near misses. So we're looking at, seconds or fraction of a second somebody could, lose lives or, false accidents. So, how reliable will that be just by looking at existing these 6 intersections and then while improving these intersections, traffic mobility, accident, crashes, to, truly expanding it to hundreds of different intersections in the county? I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
How practical is that actually?
Yeah, but this is just a pilot, right? So the whole idea is to be able to demonstrate the value of the technology. And clearly, it's all scalable in the sense that right now we just use these cameras and these intersections which have cameras in there. But these cameras are not very, very expensive. These cameras are coming, the price of them is coming down every day. So there's clearly a feasibility that you can add tens of more intersections where you collect the data from and be able to improve their safety, one. Second thing is that we learn from all these intersections and then say, look, I'm finding these things, because the driving behavior across the county is going to be similar. If you're seeing particular kinds of driving behavior, which you're seeing across the board, you can change single timing phases for many intersections based on what you're learning from here to the other intersections, even if they don't have video cameras. So both possibilities exist where you add more intersections with cameras and also learn from the existing ones and extrapolate that to the other one. But the good part is that it's all very measurable. So you can actually see the before and after in a week or 2 weeks. So you know that any change which you make is having a positive impact. Longer term, also there is a possibility that these LiDAR systems are going to be portable. So what you can do is you can put a system, put it on an intersection for a month, study it, and then move that whole system to another place. Those are all things in the horizon where you can bring costs down by leveraging one piece of equipment across many areas.
Okay, anyone else? Doctors? Oh.
Just wondering if, depending on the severity of the near misses at intersections, would changes to the actual infrastructure be something that would be considered?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely collect the data for that, and then there's a policy decision, right? So, for example, if the left-hand turn buffer is very small and it's causing issues, question is then you need to extend the left-hand buffer, for example. Now, there's all the cost involved with that, right? So all of those things are policy decisions to some extent, which we can provide data for in terms of make the actual decision, then that should happen. And obviously, I'm not a company engineer, I'm a computer scientist, so let me give it to someone who can answer that better.
I can try this. I think the most important aspect of this effort is that we are assessing if an algorithm can work and without human interfere. And we can certainly look at an intersection 24 hours a day, sending different people cover to the 8-hour shift on a daily basis. But that a specific person with a blink of an eye, they may miss the nearness, right? So the algorithm will work on the background and it can work automatically. And it can be used to identify nearness. So that's a for lack of better term, that's the beauty of this effort. So the algorithm work at the outline mode, and we assess the work close to real time. It's not true real time, but it's close to real time mode. So the next stage that the one guy is going to carry on is to see if we deploy that algorithm to a corridor, and we want to see how that's going to perform, and what kind of strategy or solution we can deploy to address certain issues that we notice from different type of nearnesses. Now, nearnesses has different severity. Yes, so we have different solutions to address that. Some are very quick and easy. We just at low cost, a low hanging fruit that we can adopt quickly. But there are certain aspect of it, we do need data to assess that. For example, pedestrian. Pedestrian won't be there 24 hours a day, likely, at least from my perspective. So there are certain peak hours need to be defined, and then we can assess certain solution to deploy just to address the demand at its peak level. And for the others, if there is no need, there is certain solution, we may not need to deploy that. So overall, the pilot study, as it stated on the title of the project, we are trying to assess the algorithm. How good it is, if we can implement it now, and what kind of solution we can deploy using the textual algorithm and assess the effect afterwards. So in general, I hope I answered your question. And I think last time when I came to you to present the nearness, I showed you a little bit more with examples. That I apologize that we didn't show up today. But certain solution that we touched on, like no turn on red, protected left turn only, that kind of solutions can be easily implemented. But again, we need to see how effective those are, how kind of side effect that's going to introduce in overall system. So that's something that we will be we will attempt to achieve in phase 2 in the 11 months or so. And we will come back in December, I believe. There will be a virtual meeting scheduled for the project team to present to you, provide a summary on their findings.
And Dr. Z, Dr. Smith, thank you very much. We're looking forward to safer streets in the future. Now, our last presentation, Direction, I think we're ready for signing up on the phone.
Sandy is coming forward, and he is, he's right behind you, and I just wanted to take an opportunity, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, to acknowledge that we do have Commissioner Rogers in the audience right behind you, she's here today. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not the audience. You know, we always stand in between you and lunch or something like that. So, I got Nicole, you guys know Nicole at the time, I couldn't come and she did all the wonderful work. But let me say this, of our presentations are normally short, I'm certainly entertaining questions, but keep in mind, you get the full spreadsheet. I know Gretchen sends out our entire report. And in that spreadsheet, it gives you all of the data via the program, municipalities and the cities, all of the goals reviewed, all of the commitments that are actually given. And remember, I told you in the beginning, the difference between goal and commitment, because your program is designed to get 30% small business utilization. But the commitment is what ends up coming back to us based on the bid that hit the street. And just having a small wink that 30%, as you'll see in some of the slides, are normally 31, 33, 35. So they're committed to even more. And another bottom line that you will see in your larger spreadsheet of the completed projects, 77% of all of those exceeded the goal as well as the commitment. So that means at some point, your primes, our primes are working with the small, and they're not only completing, they're exceeding. And I get to say it that way because when I'm meeting with them one-on-one, I do get to go backwards and remind someone, you push back on me when I said 30. You messed around and hit 47. So I'm not gonna call anyone out, but if you follow me on social media, and the owner of the company actually had to call him after him, he saw the video where I congratulated him on 30% goal, where he achieved 47.
Wow.
I didn't make him do that somehow. He ended up using more small businesses than what he anticipated. And that, I think, at the end of the day, was a part of your purpose and intent with understanding small business utilization, and taking a look at setting goals, trying to derive that economic impact, and knowing that it's still going to take time off over time in terms of growing capacity for us to get there. So I'm just simply saying we're starting to see it, and before Nicole gets started, the last thing I was saying is that 4 to 5 years, really for 4 years, of us actually rolling out projects. And I know some of you have heard in meetings, we haven't rolled out as an overall county in all the cities that many of you would love to see. But for the projects that we have rolled out, if we just average the existing goal, and if we just average the existing commitment, And if we would just only average the existing revenue for the projects, and keep in mind, we haven't even gotten to your larger projects. But if we just average what you're currently doing right now this day for the remaining 25 years, that anticipated commitment in terms of economic impact for your small businesses, when we originally told you you were anticipating 1.6 billion, is actually showing that you would do over 2 billion. And that's your future 30. And that's not even counting the fact that some of your primes also local. See, but I don't add their numbers to the 30. So I'm just simply saying, when you see the larger spreadsheet, and that can be your homework for me, if you go home and you look at it a little bit more, and you got some questions, send them in. So I can certainly respond, but I'll certainly come back to your next quarterly meeting, and I'll drill down on anything that you see. But again, you normally just come in and give the update, Nicole's slide. And I think the first slide is really one, a video of activities that's taking place over the last quarter. Okay, sure. But you had it. And next time we do it off the news. So another point, as we go into this slide, and I'll do this one slowly. You heard me a year and a half ago. So I get to do it politely again in this quarterly meeting. So we sent our communication out with the beginning of the calendar year to all of our cities, reminding them that we'll be scheduling our workshops with them as groups, but they also can reach out to us one-on-one for any additional training, because we know that folks do move around, some get promoted, some leave, the whole 9 yards. We want to make sure everybody's actually aware of what the opportunities are. And we put that out because we had a very successful session last year when about 6 other cities came in with the county agencies. And we presented to an audience of about 150 of our small businesses upcoming projects. So that's one of the ways that we try to get ahead of the curve. Can we take some of the projects that are already approved by you guys, some of the projects that are already approved by the county, projects that cities are now going to go back, whether it's design or construction, and plan how to eventually put them on the street. Before that happens, can we actually bring those cities in along with the county agencies and share that with the small business community so that they can begin to prepare? Some of those projects, they can go after as primes. Other projects, they now get to start as a sub and find some likely primes to start building their teams before bid hits the street. So we're going to be doing those sessions. So if any of our municipalities are listening, you've already received Nicole's email. I will say with a smile, I've only received one response back, one response. So feel free to hit me this month and give us a response so we can set you up for the group training as well as the one-on-one training. For this slide that you're looking at here, CBE projects reviewed. So keep reviewed in mind because it's underlined for purpose. To date, 91 projects for the county, 123 projects for the municipalities. For the projects reviewed, if they find their way all the way to the street to construction, all the way through fruition, you will see that there is a financial opportunity of over, what's that? 664 million, and then 140 million for municipalities. For those projects reviewed, you would see of what the actual goals are for the projects that were actually reviewed, averaging 29% county, 32% municipality, and remember, that's for the project reviewed with a goal. By the time it hits the street, if it hits the back, you get into negotiation, that number can change. And that's the difference between a goal and a commitment. At the end of the day, they all commit to what they're gonna do with small business. But overall, this is the beginning of what I'm saying, the larger number. If all of those projects with those goals actually come to fruition at the end of the day, that's the idea about your 343 million. That's a big thing. So this is what we try to break down every quarter based on projects that we have reviewed. But what we also give you in the big express your Excel sheet, which is also the next slide, for the projects awarded. So at the end of the day, we go through the process, Gretchen and another process much better than I, and we review on the front end. Cities reach out to us on the front end based on the review and based on establishing the goal. They did that with us eventually for a project that came in post bid to make sure that someone who looked at it as a goal is now making the commitment, then the city might make an award. So for projects awarded, you'll see for up to October 2023, those would be our numbers. 92 CDEs used for all the projects that were actually awarded, but you see we had about 34 for the county, 44 for the municipality, and those were the total amounts awarded. So we always take a look at the review. Let me take a look. I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah, so you're not worried that the previous slide that was lower than these will come up as we go?
Not worried at all.
Okay.
And not worried. I mean, I want to start as if the trend is actually what the process. I mean, it's
So
actually.
that trend that we see is typical.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And another reason why, and that's a good point you made, Chair, is because recognize we're reviewing projects at Senate. All projects don't get goals, as we know, and we also review based on what we have in house. We don't fly. If I can't put a 30 on it, I'll put a 30 on it. But even when you saw the one that was 29, that's perfectly fine. Because there's definitely going to be half to 2/3 of those when they hit the street. The commitment that comes back is larger than the 29. That's just the reality of when I'm looking at it, what I have in my directory, who we have available, and we establish the goal. So even though your program is at 30%, if I don't have the capacity based on certain industries or disciplines when a project comes through, that goal might start at 24. But it doesn't mean when the bids come back in, it's 24. It really could have been that 29, that 32, or 34. So we have no concern based on that previous. So from that slide, just wanted to remind you, this is how we then take the numbers across the board. I'm sorry, for awards. I see.
So I'm curious, I see 92 CDs awarded, but I'm kind of curious about, maybe you're from, I didn't see from here, what the demographic breakout of it is.
Yes, you should have that and that big cheap package of yours.
Okay.
You know, I'm time sensitive, so I can't give you a balance size.
It's in your town.
Definitely get that. Definitely.
Thank you.
I always have a friend in the room who asked me that 9 months ago. Heard you. Okay, next slide. So I'm going to show you, I want to show another quick video. So congratulations, BCT. Tim in the room. BCT had a non-successful industry day. I mean, seriously, with no fluff, packed room, businesses, industries in the rail outside of this state who came to hear what the county's looking to do in light rail. We know we got the overall Primo that's rolling out, but they did a light rail industry day and it was a long day. And I'm happy to say that they definitely had at least 70-75% of their crowd who stayed from the beginning to the tour. And even as allowed by BCT, we did a meet and greet at the end. So the big boys could also meet the small businesses. So it was a great day. BCT did a great job. That's what this slide was really about. We even had some testimony. We wanted to talk to people You can show that, it's really short.
What's your name of a company? Sure. Everything figured out with Black Angel and Marketing. What did you think about our event here, the meet and greet? It's fantastic. It was my first one. I really enjoyed meeting the people, making a lot of them, just talking about my company, learning about what, and seeing the future of our and the present. So that was fantastic. And I really enjoyed the tour. I'm really excited with what's going to happen here in Broward County. So thank you. Yeah.
Of course, that is the code for something. Next slide. Because the thing. Okay, because with that, that's it. But seriously, as I said in the beginning, your spreadsheet that you have all of the specific details for all of the projects today, county and city. It even has the industry breakout, which I was asked a year and a half ago about what's the most popular industries. We do have the demographics on all of our small businesses. And we're screaming and shouting social media. The idea that our primes, I get to say it openly because I'm 10 years old with the county and I have a day program called OESBB. This is the second program called Surtax, Matt Broward. But even the core who normally would push back, they're meeting their commitment. Small businesses are working, they're actually getting paid. We get to count the dollar that stays in the county. We get to really pay attention to direct, indirect, and induced activity from one single contract. So with that being said, we're just simply trying to say that what you're doing, what we're allowed to do, and certainly like we're trying to do trainings, we can always improve. That's why we're trying to get more connectivity with our agencies as well as our cities, and anything that we can do to better the program, certainly looking into it. But with that, I'll entertain questions, Mr. Chief.
I won't touch the book. Sandy, first I'd like to thank you for what you've achieved. A lot of people may not know what goes into a program like this, but I've been involved in programs like this in the 1980s. And you have done a tremendous job. They don't know the pushback that you get, the indirect pushback from both sides. So I commend you on that. So I'm gonna give you a minute. You are the name.
Thank you.
But I think you've
I don't know about that, but thank you.
you've done an excellent job.
I appreciate that.
So you have to coordinate all kinds of entities, governmental entities, employees, departments, small businesses that complain every day, they can't get it. Big guys that said, I don't want you because you can't perform. This is a unique accomplishment on your part. I just want this committee to understand the job that this man has. It's not easy.
Thank you.
He's a rock star at it.
Also, I want to commend you and thank you, for everything you do and also sharing this impressive, information here with us. Do you have, full-time equivalent jobs in a creative as a result of these, projects?
Actually, we do.
You do?
Yep, and if it's not in the package, but it should be. It's a part of the full-time that come not only during construction, but based on the activity of the discipline.
Yeah.
Afterward. That's the part about, as you certainly know, that direct, indirect, and induced. From these contracts we may do for a specific project. Then there's dollars that's going to be spent to supply the materials to complete the project. And then for that same project, there's a company who provides a service. They're going to get paid to provide the dollars for their employees. That employee is then going to go home and pay that mortgage, go to the grocery store, go to the gas station. But then the larger footprint is as this project is completed with those numbers, what did we just be able to create that has continuing jobs? The Lauderhill Transportation Center that they did 2 years ago or so, that was one of the first economic impacts we rolled out. We explained everything that might happen on the front end. We watched the project, when it was actually occurring. Now that that facility is up and running, you now have the permanent full-time jobs that explain what that continuing economic impact would be.
And that's the multiplier impact.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
In your packet, but for those who might not have the packet, just wanted to put on the record that right now, just for awarded projects that are Surtax related, 1,676.
Shots. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, no job.
Well, anyone else have anything? I don't know what to say. No one, you just read? Thank you. Second reading is back for doing the work. With that, we're going to move into action items, and finish the presentation. Now they really have to be very work with them, right? Rachel, I have a question. We're going to approve of the motion after the presentation of these, rather than before.
I'm sorry. Could
The motion, well, let's take the next action item in the minutes. Correct?
Yes, it is.
Before I ask for a motion to approve, I have a correction. On page 35, Gretchen, I misspoke, I guess, is the best way to say it. The overall project budget for this, I guess it's $2 billion. Is that right? And I said the surtax was 400,000 when that should have been 400 million. So the verbatim minutes are so correct, they printed to 400 million, to 400,000 rather than what should have been 400 million because I misspoke. So if that gets corrected, I will entertain a motion to approve.
And Mr. Chair, so we don't have another correction that we have to do, that's not for the bypass road. That was for the 2 Broward County Aviation Department requests. That's for the automated people mover and the intermodal center. What's the total? The total for those 2 projects is it's almost 2 billion. The amount that was being requested from the surtax in fiscal year 2024 was approximately 400 million.
Okay, that's a $2 billion expenditure, right?
That's all in, so yeah, that's what all of the other funding.
County's money being spent for what, right?
No, because the county money is the surtax funding.
No, I understand. But still, it's going into the county power. At the end of the meeting, I'll clarify.
Okay.
Anyone else have any additional changes? I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
For moving to Chairman, I answer that question.
I'll second.
Ron, and Dave, okay? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Action item number 2, motion to note for the record, for bypass road expenditure.
And Mr. Huey is going to be coming up to talk about this item.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, this Vice Chair, members of the board, calling you again. Want to come here and talk to you briefly about our bypass road project. If you recall, so if you recall, we talked about this project back in August. It's one of our most exciting and high profile surtax project that we have. Excuse me, the bypass road project, you may recall, is tied into. Excuse me. I think I'm good. So it's, and I want to give you a brief update of it. And then also, to note for the record that, additional money from the surtax will be required as part of the project. The video is, okay. Should we show the video?
Sorry. This video features project info.
What
The Broward County Board of County Commissioners.
You stop that for a second. I just want to remind, or just bring back to you fresh on memory of the project and just lay out exactly what it is because of the item that is facing you. So this is the video that we have.
Sure. With funding assistance from the Florida Department of Transportation, the Broward County Highway Construction and Engineering and plans to construct a bypass roadway with it. Provide and some popular local destinations. The project is located in the heart of Broward County and extends from the intersection of US 1 and State Road 84 to the intersection of Eisenhower Boulevard and Southeast 20th Street. Pass Road Project, major component of the project suggestion. Provides a direct connection and alternative route between the intersection of State Road 84 and US 1 and the greater Fort Lauderdale Broward County Convention Center and Headquarters Hotel, Fort Everglades Terminals 2 and 4, the Southeast 17 businesses, the intersection US 1 and State Road 84 is currently being enhanced to improve travel times and connectivity to and from the Port Bypass Road. Additionally, Eisenhower Boulevard is being widened to improve travel times and connectivity between the Port Bypass Road and Southeast 17th Street. An adaptive traffic control system being installed along US 1 to north of Broward Boulevard. A second adaptive traffic control system will be installed along Southeast 17th Street from US 1 to Holiday Drive. Both adaptive traffic control system projects will enable signal timing along these corridors to be adjusted based on real-time traffic conditions in the area. Station improves traffic along the Southeast 17th Street and the US 1 corridors, while improving connectivity between nearby major highways and arterials from and to local businesses, the beaches, Port Everglades, and the Convention Center. On State Road 84 improvements project enhances the intersection's capacity, reduces travel times through the intersection, and improves connectivity for the Port Bypass Road to and from US 1 and State Road 84. Bypass project begins just east of the intersection S1 and 4. Roadway users traveling eastbound will be able to access Port Everglades through a new security checkpoint, or alternatively access the Port Bypass Road connecting directly to Southeast 17th Street and the Convention Center. Port Bypass Bridge was for an at-grade roundabout that provides full access to all the fuel farms and all other port tenants. The project improvements have been designed with consideration of the cargo and tanker truck traffic volumes that use all of the port's roadways. The secured right of way, it's separated by barrier and fence, provides a direct connection to the Convention Center and Port Everglades Terminals 2 and 4. This roadway eliminates the need for motorists to pass through the port security checkpoints. A service road that connects to the roundabout will be constructed to the north and
Okay. Well, sorry about the video, but I think it presented the gist of it, and that's the video that you have previously seen before. Thank you. Okay, so when we last spoke, we were just finished with the design of the project and we're about to start on the procurement phase of the project. Where we're at now, I'm happy to report everything's moving right on schedule. We went out to bid, we got the very good bids coming back from the project. We actually got 4 bids for the project. The low bid is $47.8 million. It is higher than what we anticipated as part of the engineering design. I think a couple of reasons for that. The market conditions continue to be a factor in the entire industry as general. And this project does have, is a complex project, complicated project, working in an area that involves contamination that we're gonna have to deal with and so forth. But we're actually very happy with the bids that we got. I think that those were very solid, and the number of competition that we had was very positive. So we're very happy with it. Additional money will be required. It's about $9.2 million. 6.3 of it due to the difference between what we originally estimated, the bid that we got. And one of the interesting things that we have added to this is that this project is tied into a county's convention center hotel. The bypass road must be substantially completed, which means that it must be open to traffic before the final completion, or excuse me, the final certificate occupancy of hotels. So it's very critical that this project be constructed on time and be absolutely functional and function in the way that we want. So we have included a $2 million incentive bonus for 30-day early finish. And the dates are all tied into the hotel opening and the days of receiving guests and so forth. And what we'll do is actually a graduated incentive. If they meet the full 30 days, they get $3 million. If they meet 29, if they 29 days ahead of time, they get a little less, and so forth and so forth, until it goes down to zero. So it's gradually.
Honey, what happens if they miss it?
I'm sorry.
What's the penalty if they miss it?
Well,
How do you get an incentive?
Right, there's a incentive proportion to it. And if they miss it, if they don't, if they just meet the date, they get zero, which is a balance. Now, if they start going past it, there's a disincentive, they start all this money as they go forward. So there's an incentive, disincentive.
What is the penalty equal to the incentive?
Yes.
So basically, they can lose $2 million.
Yeah. Yep. It's entirely balanced. If they need it, 30 days ahead of time, they get 2 million. If they missed it by, let's say, 30 days, they lose 2 million, and then after that, they go to the damages. So everything is tied into making sure that the project's done on time. This approach has been used by DOT. We have used it before. It's not often for obvious reasons, but it's something that we want to make sure that it doesn't affect the hotel operation. So, and then just at some additional amount of money that we want to include to make up for 5% contingency that we typically need.
I don't quite understand. I know we have the contingency. Are we saying that we're taking this 0.9 million from the contingency fund?
No, what I meant, and I apologize for this, is that we need an additional 0.9 million to make up a 5% contingency. Does that make sense?
5% contingency.
Yeah. So it's 5% contingency.
Okay, then another question.
Sure.
We have, I think, a contingency in the overall Surtax program budget, right?
I think you're referring, Mr. Chair, to the contingency budget line that is associated with municipal projects. But for the county projects, they have specific levels of contingency for their Surtax funded contracts, which is what I think Mr. Healy is speaking to right now.
Where we have at this point is everything in the bid is going along very smoothly. What we plan to do is there's some final documentations that have been satisfied and so forth. We're planning to notice the award and the first notice to proceed sometime this month, towards the end of this month. That puts us right on schedule. That puts us, everything just lined up perfectly. And what we will do is that we and we expect the construction to go smoothly. And that it's difficult but smooth. And that we expect the road to be open to traffic in November of 2025, right in time prior to the final completion.
Any questions, Lieutenant?
Thank you. This project is, over the last couple of meetings, we've had major discussions relative to the volume of projects that are in the process, various stages, over the next 5 years surrounding the port, the airport, and that whole corridor over there. Well over $2 billion being proposed to be spent on multiple rail projects, bypass road. I mean, and this board had taken a position that we needed to assure a level of coordination of these projects to ensure that, you know, we don't get caught in a situation where one project is being held up and that's affecting another project. So, although the budget was in the 5-year program that we approved, this is just a note for the record of the change in the budget for this particular project. I had asked a series of questions and the responses of the staff are attached, but I would do that as just more for our records to say that yes, we did look at this, that we had these continuing concerns about coordination of projects, particularly in a limited geographic region of that whole area. And with that, I would just note for the record, or do you need approval motion to do that to move forward? Now, since we've already authorized the project, and meeting the requirements of the Surtax ordinance, this is just a ministerial, I guess, item so that we are aware of the cost increase on the project and that we had looked at that and our concerns have been met. So with that. The question I have, additional $2 million being, asked, from the Surtax. 6.3 million is due to, Iowa bid amount. And about $1 million to make up the 5% contingency. And $2 million for incentive bonus and also the rationale, behind it. What happens if they don't meet that deadline? And that $2 million is coming back to Surtax?
If they don't achieve that bonus, then it will be, and it will return to the project and will be available to Surtax for other uses.
Okay. So, it will come back to the Surtax for our, further approval for whatever we might be doing.
Right, and the same for the contingency amount, if we don't spend all of the contingency in the project, that as part of the project, that will also return to, with the general fund.
Thank you.
Sure.
It returns you to not this board. Okay. Gretchen, question. This is the motion that we are voting, correct? Or we don't need to vote? We don't need to do anything?
It's
You're just making us aware.
perfect. It is purely informational and notation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to note for the record. 3. The correction of the Scrivener's error in the 5-year plan relating to construction funding of the City of Hollywood project HOFL-056.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a motion, and again, another ministerial action. We are just simply trying to make sure that we have on the record that there was an error in the municipal 5-year plan that was presented to the board on August 18th as part of our regular budget process that we do on an annual basis with you all. Hollywood 056 was programmed to receive $733,333 in fiscal year 2026. As part of our interlocal agreements with the municipalities that participate in the program, those 29 cities, they do have the ability to request funding be brought forward in the 5-year plan. So as part of the development of the 24 through 28 5-year plan, the city of Hollywood did contact my staff and ask that the $733,333 for construction of 056 move into the fiscal year 2024 budget. The NPO under the Surtax services contract with the county does what's called a readiness review. We've talked to you about that previously. They assessed the project's readiness for construction. At the time of that assessment, they were looking at 60% plans. And those 60% plans had an opinion of probable cost on the project of over $1.8 million. So when the transmittal came back from the NPO staff, it included the opinion of probable cost. And that opinion of probable cost was transposed into the 5-year plan in 2024 instead of the amount of the Surtax funding that had been requested by the city. We were able to catch it relatively quickly. The city knew that it was an error, but just in an abundance of caution and for transparency and accountability, we wanted to make sure that this was on the record here. So it has been corrected, and the $733,333 is available to the city in the current fiscal year.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any forward motion?
This is an actual action item. It does require your approval. I did want to invite a representative from the city of Margate to come forward and present this conversion request to you. And if you could please provide your name for the recorder and for the record when you start.
Morning, Vice, morning, Chair, morning, members of the board, and everyone in the audience. I'm Franklin Tavares, and I'm here to talk for the city of Margate. So initially, you received $24,000 that was given for the Winfield pedestrian bridge, and that $24,000 was allotted for design. Design has been completed already, so the request is to transfer that $24,000 into the actual construction of the bridge itself. So the intent, Winfield, and you picture Winfield and State Road 7, right? It's a high traffic area, and the intent is to remove the projection of traffic off of State Road 7 and give a more safe approach from Winfield to the green area across there. So that's what we have. It's a request of $24,000, again, to be used for the actual construction instead of design, because the design is complete. Correct.
So we're,
We're getting a credit.
that's why, when was it?
I think that might be off.
Jason?
No, I'm just saying, that's great, that we, this money put it up, that's what it's something like, so. You want to convert it to go into construction,
Correct.
so isn't there some cost saving benefits that's coming from it? So if you're putting 24,000 in, the construction was previously budgeted for. Is there any savings? No? Why is that?
Right? It sounds like the city advanced the money to keep things going. And we should be paying for it now, where we should have paid for it before anything. It's what everyone else is getting, right? And my.
Yeah, I think we need some clarification, right?
Certainly, it's fine. So under the Second Amendment, cities can request to convert from one phase to another. As you know, in cycle 1, there were many municipal capital projects that were recommended in either a planning or a design phase. In this particular case, they were recommended to receive design funding in the amount of $24,000 for this bridge. They went ahead and spent their own money to design the projects, and now they have the right to come forward and ask you all if they can, you take that $24,000 and put it into the construction amount, which is budgeted in fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $176,000, so that they have the a full $200,000 of Surtax funding to go towards the construction of the bridge. Does that clarify that for you, Vice Chair?
Yes, it does, it does. So we never, ever, assigned any dollars for construction before, or just, we never did? Okay, perfect. So it's just really shifting. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I think so.
So this require a motion to approve,
Yes. Yes.
and who is going to read that?
I'll be happy to read it, Chair. So item 5 is a motion to approve the city of Margate's request to convert $24,000 in. Item number 5 is a motion to approve the city of Margate's request to convert $24,000 in recommended FY 2020 funding from the design phase to the construction phase for project number MARG-033, a pedestrian bridge connecting from Winfield Boulevard to the easternmost portion of Firefighters Park.
I believe that's item 4 on our record.
Sorry, item 4.
Any other comments?
I'd like to move it.
I'd like to second it.
All in favor? Any opposed? Congratulations. Question, we're ready to move into non-agenda items and reminders, correct?
That's correct.
I don't know whether to say something now or chair before, but I have a question about the 100 and some projects on the first tranche. Some of those, when will we get an update? Are all those cleaned up, or there's still some out there?
We are going to be bringing you a final update in May. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Clifford to kind of talk through what his team is working on right now with respect to cycle 1.
Thank you, Gretchen. So, as I mentioned in various briefings and conversations individually with some of the members that I had an opportunity to speak with for today, our goal on the legal team part of the program is to be coming back to you in May with what I would consider a final report regarding the cycle 1 process. And it is our hope that the only thing after cycle 1, or excuse me, after May, that you will be hearing about regarding cycle 1 is projects that are under agreement, that are funded, that are going to be completed. There are challenges associated with that. There are a number of municipal projects where the cities have not provided information to even get to the point of being under agreement. And we are limited in terms of our ability to move those projects from a pending list to a canceled or withdrawn list under the strictures of the Second Amendment. There's at least one other project which was completed with non-surtax funds for which there is no ability to obtain reimbursement, yet that city has chosen not to withdraw that project. Again, we have some limitations in terms of our ability as under the program to cancel it. It's all being wrapped up in what will eventually be discussions relating to an inevitable Third Amendment to the ILA, which is going to be a comprehensive re-envisioning of the relationship between the counties and the cities. And that's going to be part of discussions that are going to be ongoing over the next couple of months with the city attorneys and with the cities regarding these. There's a not insignificant number of projects still trying to get exactly nailed down which ones are not moving forward because the cities have not given the information to be able to get under agreement and be able to have a project that is ready to move it to whatever phase it is. I really, at the moment, not in a position to be able to provide you additional details. I'm more than happy as this process moves along over the next couple of months to have individual conversations with any or all of you regarding the status of these things. So that when we get to our next meeting, it is not a surprise when you get the agenda in advance regarding what the status of these things.
Thank you. I would love to have some one-on-ones with you because this has been filling
this board side years for new people. And I'm glad to see we're moving forward.
I'm happy to meet with you as frequently as you'd like, Mr. Chair.
There are a couple other items that have been interesting. I want to remind everyone that the August 9th oversight working has not been changed. Remember, you got a request when good, got pulled back, so we're still having that meeting on August 9th. And we're supposed to return our expired values, which I thought I had to do. Well, as far as 110 and 124, I guess, you know what that is. And sign memo to Roy before leaving here. There's a memo in the packet that we need to sign before we leave. Then we are doing some things after lunch that aren't necessarily on this agenda. We also have chair reports, member reports, general counsel reports, and board coordinator reports.
I have, I will go last, so if anybody else has.
Pardon?
I do have a report, but if anyone else has any reports or the general counsel of our community.
I have asked Gretchen to provide me with a list of an updated list of expenditures for city and expenditures for county. So we can understand how much money is going to the different cities and how much of the county money is going being spent also. And the reason I did this, I had heard some of my city commissioners in Fort Lauderdale say how little Fort Lauderdale was receiving Surtax. When in fact, they did rank last as far as their request. They ranked first as far as how much Surtax dollars the county is spending in the city. And I personally would like, will need to individual commissioners to make sure that they understand that I believe that city, you have city leader people, and take a look at it too. So I have asked for that, and obviously when I do get it, it will be available for Kenny and all the boards that are there. Did I say that?
You do.
Okay. So that's my report for it. Other members have anything they'd like to add?
Couple quick ones. First off, the Surtax fund, origination and staff came forward with a recommendation to make improvements to this particular facility, to house the overall ability advancement program. We're still working on trying to get through a lot of some bugs as it relates to the usefulness of this facility, particularly with the use of microphones and computer support. And I would hope that would encourage building maintenance or whoever is responsible for maintaining this building to bring it up to snuff as it relates to our needs for public input and ongoing forward with meetings. Secondly, the financial statements of the county and management report. Can we expect to have them for our April meeting? Is that the plan, you know?
Our next meeting is actually May 10th, and we generally distribute the audit and the financial reports to you when they are completed. And then they will also be an item, just a discussion item on your May 10th meeting agenda. If I could just address the first comment, because the building, our construction management division and our facilities management division have been amazing in supporting the build out and renovation of the space. The issue is simply the audio visual equipment for this space to allow us to live web stream, for you to have individual wireless mics at each of your areas, for us to actually have the monitors and televisions that will allow the oversight board members and the audience to be able to see what's happening. in real time have to be installed as a separately. We are under contract. The vendor has been selected. So the process is underway. We're hoping that by your August meeting, everything in this space has been completely outfitted to allow, from a technological standpoint, to allow both you and members of the public to participate in a meaningful way, both in person and virtually. So, and I apologize for the technical issues that we have. And it's something we have in there as well.
General counsel, do you have anything?
Nothing beyond what I've said previously. And again, I'm very happy to be here and look forward to working with all of you.
So, Reggie, like, I don't like sitting with my back to the audience, so I just wanted to know, are we gonna change that?
Of course, yeah. As I mentioned to you, when we were here for your retreats, the actual setup for the oversight board is a kind of a straight line with just a little tiny view at each end, so that you will be facing out and you'll have monitors up on each of those columns. But for the moment, based on the fact that we're kind of cobbling together, borrowing technology from our partners at the Office of Public Communications and ETS, which is our IT agency, this is the best possible structure for the moment. The permanent structure will be different, and it will allow you to look out as we discussed. That was the design that you all approved way back in 2020. So,
Thank you.
of course.
You say you have a report.
I just have one quick announcement. Your colleague who was unable to be here today, Mr. Hooper, the former chair, is being recognized by the MPO on March 28th as their regional visionary of the year. And if any of you are interested in attending that event, I'll be happy to share that link with you.
I have a question. Your next meeting is set for May 10th. In the packet, there's a talk about the backup date for April, right?
You had asked during the retreats if there was a need for us to meet before May. Should we go ahead and have kind of a placeholder if there are any action items? Right now, I'm not anticipating that there will be any need for us to meet sooner than May 10th. But if you would like, Mr. Chair, we can certainly spend some time looking at April.
This is a place older in April that we just had. Probably not. But- So our next meeting is May 10th,
Our next meeting is May 10th,
9:30 a.m. here.
9:30 a.m. here.
And then we can figure room and
No, I don't want to, I want to keep I want to manage your expectations, because as I mentioned, it's going to take at least a couple months for all of the equipment to, we still have some supply chain issues when it comes to technology. And so once everything is in, then it'll take a couple weeks for it to install, and we'll have to do some testing. I'm going to promise you by August, it will be done, but not by November.
does anyone have anything else they'd like to say? If not, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Very good. Second. And that's one thing. All in favor? Anybody opposed? We're adjourned. We're ready for-
We are adjourned. We will take a lunch break. During your lunch, we are going to be doing a demo of our new public safety dashboard. And then we are going to move into our workshop items.
Where will that be viewed?
On these actual touch screen. So you're welcome to come back and you can sit where you are on your lunch. And our team went ahead and started the demo. Thank you so much. One of the very first things that you all asked of us back in 2019 was to establish a series of dashboards. And we have been working on the internal dashboard that tracks against the original plan. as well as the public-facing dashboard. And at several of our meetings, we've heard from you all about the importance of telling that compelling story of what we have accomplished. So we are at a point 5 years into this program where we have quite a few projects that have been completed, over 300 actually, which we want to be able to tell that story in a compelling way. Some of them are not particularly compelling projects, like bus stops and bus shelters. But what we've started doing, and I just want to introduce you to two members of your team. So these are folks that work for MAP administration, supporting the oversight board. Neil Lynn, who is the Mobility Planning and Innovations Team Supervisor, and Marlene Bruneau, who is working as a GIS and data visualization expert. She's part-time with us, and her focus has been creating storyboards and coming up with really, I think, innovative but accessible ways for folks to find out about what has been completed. So we've been trying to get before, during, and after photos. I'm happy to report also that we have someone onboarding on Monday who is fluent in 6 languages. Wow. 3 of the languages that are spoken most often here in Broward County other than English, who is also a professional drone pilot. And so we will begin having the ability to do drone footage of these types of projects, hopefully in the near future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Neil, and he's going to walk you through some of the new features of the dashboard.
Thank you, Gretchen. So yeah, we just want to share with you briefly, Marlene and I today, what we've been working on, some of the visualization tools. Here is our map Broward completed projects photo viewer. And so this was created in GIS. We created icons where we have pictures. There's yellow camera icons where we have pictures of the various completed project photos. And so based on the request that you guys have had and information input we received from you guys, the oversight board, and elected officials and other stakeholders, and we wanted to come up with a tool like this to kind of help us tell that story of the Surtax project. Specifically, this focuses on the completed Surtax projects that have been completed. So we have the nice interactive map here. It's similar to a public dashboard as far as the information, like the project title, ID, the project type, description, and then the Surtax funding. Similar to the information shown on the public dashboard, but it includes, like Gretchen mentioned, it's showing before, during, and after construction photos. And you can zoom in and you can really get an idea of some of the work that's being done throughout the county. It's a little laggy. Okay.
Looks like my computer. So
yeah, so just while we wait on that, so some of the projects that we've began to populate include the municipality Surtax projects, as well as the county, specifically Public Works County projects. We have a bunch of transit projects, transit infrastructure projects from our BCT agency that we're going to be populating. So we have a lot more to populate, and we're compiling those. But yeah, you can see here, these are some of the project photos. You see some of our map Broward branding. And so we're gathering basically photos where work has been done and is currently being done, and we'll build upon this. And so we basically want to help tell that story. Natasha, who's our senior GIS analyst, and Marlene, who's our data visualization specialist, are working hard to continue to deliver visualizations to help tell the story of the work that's being done throughout the county. So this is Oakland Park Boulevard. Maybe we can 21. Yeah, here's another project. We have various projects, such as we have a bridge improvement project on Southeast 13th Avenue. Some of the pictures of the bridge before and after, during, as it was being improved.
Other projects we have a bunch of fiber optic projects within our photo viewer tool. We have, this one's on Pine Island Road. We have a couple others. We have mass arm projects, resiliency projects, specifically mass arm improvement projects. We're able to capture some of those photos there. And we also have, this is an example of bike lane projects, some of our multimodal enhancement projects, here's a bike lane project on Commercial Boulevard. And as we get different types of footage from projects, such as drone footage, we'll be able to include that within this project photo viewer as well. Here's some drainage improvement projects, more road resilience projects. This is some of the work that's being done on the drainage. You can see. Various different traffic calming. We have roadway resurfacing at various locations, and like we're compiling whatever photos we can get. One of the things we do is we filter out, obviously, we have to have a certain quality, so that, the innovation team, we're going through it and seeing what photos are, that are visually, and good enough quality to show on the photo viewer. But yeah, we're building this over time, and this is just one of our tools that we're working on, and we'll continue to give you updates and show you guys other visualizations that we continue to work on. So just wanted to show that to you and give you a taste.
Do you all have any input or thoughts? And I don't know, Marlene, are you able to show some of the new project one pagers?
Different things.
No, like the ones that you've been working on and for, okay. So we also, at our next meeting, will show you some of the 1 and 2 page summary overviews. This goes back to what Chair Coleman was talking about with respect to being able to at a high level, summarize all of the Surtax investments that are happening inside of the municipality. Another thing that Neil and his team, Marlene specifically, has been working on is some very compelling, like easy for our elected officials when they're going out. If you all are going to an event in your capacity as an oversight board member, and you'd like to have some type of 1-pager or 2-pager document that summarize some of the big accomplishments or investments in a particular area. We get a lot of requests from our commissioners, often from even municipal electeds. And so being able to have a place to go where they're not calling us and saying, can you put this together for me? Where they can just go onto our website in a centralized location and get the information that they're looking for, using business intelligence tools to try to compile that type of information eventually kind of in a real-time manner is something that we're working towards. So I wanted the team to hear from you, what you think, if you have any suggestions, because this is a great opportunity for us to, if we need to invest in additional resources or look at additional tools, this is the time that we are building our budget. So please let us know. Any thoughts? You don't want to go? All right. See, we caught you in the after lunch lull. Okay. Thank you. You all agree? If they get talkative later, I'll share it with you. Okay. All right, now you're up. So we're moving into our workshop now. So your annual training, we're going to start with Mr. Constantine from our Enterprise Technology Services to give you your mandatory cybersecurity training.
Hello, everybody.